Welcome to the UnderDog Report. The UnderDog Report every week on joehoft.com. That's joehoft.com. Current events from a Christian perspective. And you can go to the underdogreport.com and you can see all of the articles we have here. Hello, this is Gary Scarano from the UnderDog Report. The UnderDog Report, we are here every week and we publish on Joe Hoft's site, joehoft.com for a year under the name The UnderDog Report. And I'm very excited to interview someone who looks very similar to him, his twin brother, Jim Hoft, the founder and the editor of The Gateway Pundit at thegatewaypundit.com. And we're here today to talk about a recent announcement that Jim made and what has been going on in the industry, and specifically what is going on with the Gateway Pundit. I'd like to start with a quick definition of something, Jim, and that is, what is lawfare? Because congratulations, you just finished, you and your brother, a contentious lawfare. We're not going to talk about that in detail, but we can talk about it in general. Lawfare, the definition is the strategic use of legal proceedings to intimidate or hinder an opponent. Basically, it means the person with the money wins the law case, because someone who's doing something legal and innocent and true, it's immaterial, because the person with the money doesn't like what you're saying, can just sue you and cause you ridiculous amount of money. I think a good example of this is General Flynn. He lost his house, he lost his savings, lost everything, but he did nothing wrong. Before we begin, I met you at Milwaukee, a great privilege, and you had a great meeting there about lawfare. I'd like to hear your thoughts just in general about what lawfare is.
I thought that was a great definition you used, Gary, and that pretty much nails it. Certainly, myself and my brother, we've been victims of lawfare now. That's not the only lawfare case I have faced. We just settled one a couple weeks ago, and it's certainly not pleasant. We're not the only ones that go through this. My friend Steve Bannon's sitting in prison right now from a lawfare case. President Trump has been through more lawfare cases than anyone in history, I would say. What they've come after him with, ridiculous charges. They've even changed the laws in order to get Trump. And,
oh my goodness.
That was with the E. Jean Carroll case that he lost in court. And you had Letitia James making up crimes and charging Trump $450 million as a punishment for a situation that there was no crime. It was he was doing business in New York. He was borrowing money from a bank. They were both happy. They both made money, and the bank, Deutsche Bank, would loan him money in the future. There was no crime, but this is what the left is doing. They're very good at it, and we don't see this from the right. This isn't happening. Conservatives aren't doing this to Democrats. And so it will continue. This is just the start. This is going to continue on and on, because we don't have anyone on the right who's strong enough to start their own lawfare cases against the left. And eventually that's what's going to have to happen if it is going to stop, or the left will put every conservative out of business who stands in their way.
That's what's going on. It's going on all over the world. Unfortunately, this is something new we've never seen before. And it really boils down to freedom of speech. From my perspective, it's a matter of, can we say the truth about anything? Can we say any more without fear of being attacked financially? The answer is no. Well, the answer is no. If we're on the wrong side of the law, that's understandable. But if we're not on the wrong side of the law, well, then why are we being attacked? And this is why the Gateway Pundit is so urgent to be able to help people. So what I'd like to do is I have some screenshots here. You did a fantastic video on your website. Again, your website, thegatewaypundit.com. And what you did, Jim, is you reviewed some of the things that your organization was first in, important information, and also because you provided this information, you were a victim of lawfare. So the first one was the Tedros, which was he was the director of the WHO, World Health Organization, and he said, "Hey, the fertility rate was what 3.5%, something like that." But I think you did some research. It's traditionally COVID, the death rate was equivalent to a flu, which is, what is it, 0.04%, something like that?
On average, yes.
The bottom line is they scared people that 3 or 4% of you are going to die if you get this. So they scared you into taking the jab, what they call it, the vaccine.
Right, right, absolutely. And this is what came out in March and April of 2020. This is supposedly the expert at the World Health Organization, the man who's leading that organization. He also has a history of being very much pro-China. And so it played very nicely into China's hands. And the fact that he created this global panic by saying that the mortality rate was 3.4%, which would have wiped out 1 out of every 30 people who got it. You know, they would have been dead. This was a complete exaggeration. And we predicted at the time, just looking at the numbers from Italy, that this was grossly overstated. It was closer to under 1%, which would make it a severe flu year, which is what it turned out to be. And so again, but the damage was done. Gateway Pundit reported the truth. We were the first ones.
You were the first ones.
And so they don't appreciate that when we continue to report the truth on several of these major efforts that they have out there to control the population. And that's why they continue to go after Gateway Pundit.
Yes, and talking about COVID and talking about control, remember it was a cave and some bats, and the virus came out of a bat cave or came out of a local market. But the truth is, you were the first to report that they were experimenting with live animals. You have video proof of this, and they were experimenting, funded by Fauci and the U.S. government into COVID. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's absolutely correct. And it wasn't the bat soup, which is what they were saying. It wasn't pangolins, some animal from Africa that's running around. It was definitely from the Wuhan laboratory. And what is interesting is you have these fake news outlets like Wikipedia that to this day still says that the lab theory is very questionable. It's a conspiracy. So there's still a lot of people lying about the truth of what happened there. And of course, it came from the Wuhan laboratory right there in Wuhan, China, where it all started.
I think more and more people are beginning to realize that that's the truth, that's what's really going on. And this kind of popped up during the 2020 election, and it got completely shut down. Trump mentioned it during his debate, the whole Hunter Biden fiasco.
Yeah, there's never been any charges against the Biden family. Joe Biden, his son did have a little kerfuffle that they've reduced his charges, but this is a family that made all their money off of deals with foreign countries, and they made millions and millions of dollars with all of their connections from overseas. It was a complete scam. They're a crime family, is what they are. And instead of going after the Bidens, we have a government that's going after the Trumps, which is probably the cleanest family ever in politics. The computer, Hunter Biden's computer, we actually had the first crack at that before the election. We were putting up photos of Hunter and his orgies and his drug use, and
oh my goodness.
And then of course his emails, and the family was worried because he was hanging out with a minor We posted that. That still never got much attention. And the media then came back and said, and the intel officers, the 51 intel officers came out and said that this was a Russian conspiracy. There was no truth to it. So they took down our post. My brother Joe lost his Twitter account during this episode, and it was all based on a lie and propaganda from the government to flip the election to Joe Biden. So it certainly helped Joe Biden, and everybody was in on it, except for Gateway Pundit and a few others who knew what was actually going on.
But at least you were the first one to report it, which is exciting. These are things that need to be reported. And right. We're just going through a list of some of them that you mentioned on your email. Right. I'm sorry, your video. Here's election fraud. You know, you had late night deliveries of tens of thousands of votes on pallets. I believe this was Michigan.
Correct. This was in Detroit. This was election night 2020. All the ballots were counted in the TCF Center. It's the arena where they counted all the ballots in the Detroit area. And then at 3:30 in the morning, these vans come rolling in and drop off another 61 boxes of ballots. They actually came back and dropped off another 16 boxes of ballots after the first drop. The media there said that this was fake news when we first reported on it. So we got the video and we produced the video. We're looking at the screen grabs right there of them dropping off these late night deliveries to the Detroit TCF Center. We were completely correct on this. The media still to this day has never reported on it. There was a couple small reports in the area that just said that, oh, well, this was explained. And they actually said, this is how we do things in Detroit. That was their excuse. So, yeah, this is where we caught them bringing in all these extra mysterious ballots in the middle of the night in Detroit.
And as far as you know, is this going on now for this election? Election is less than 3 weeks away. Is this still going on?
I think they're going to try anything they can, just like they did last time. So I'm sure we can expect more tricks like this.
Well, hopefully they'll be caught and stopped. And as we know, this caused what the famous F curve, where all of a sudden, late at night, let's zoom in here, by 6 o'clock in the morning, all of a sudden, boom, you get the bump. So, and Biden wins by the dumping statistically just the right amount of votes, the ballots, just to get what he needs. Unfortunately, and that's what happened. Hopefully it won't happen again.
Right.
So NewsGuard, you know, it's supposed to be a fair site. It's supposed to be a site that's checking, fact-checking organization. But you were the first reporter to report that it's actually paid by the Defense Department, correct?
Yeah, that's right. And so this is a group that comes after conservatives and independent media. They never correct the fake news, the New York Times or Washington Post, on all their bullshit and lies. Excuse me, but they come after us all the time, and we find out that the government's actually funding this organization and has been. So this is the government actually getting involved in silencing people that they don't want their voices broadcast. So this is how this works. If NewsGuard gives you a strike, it affects your advertising. It affects your the way that you're portrayed in the media. And so they have some clout, and they despise the Gateway Pundit. We're one of their top organizations that they go after.
And they're funded by the government almost $800,000. That's a lot of money. Yeah. I mean, would you like the government to give you $800,000?
That's just 1 year.
My goodness. As a result, you went before Congress and you testified, didn't you?
This was in 2018. So after 2016, when Trump won, immediately in 2017, the left all got together, the social media giants, Facebook and Twitter, and the government was involved, we know now. And they basically took down all of the prominent conservative Facebook pages, and there were several. And a lot of these people have contacted me over the years, and they lost all of their traffic that went to their website because Facebook had blocked all their content. We were also, that was our situation. We used to have 22% of our traffic came from Facebook, almost a third. And after the election, when Trump won, they got rid of our traffic. It's down to less than 1% at this point. So yeah, this is what they did to make sure that what happened in 2016 would not happen again.
If Facebook is deemed to be a news organization, would that have to change?
I think, yeah, I think Facebook could be in a lot of trouble coming up here, because we also saw that Mark Zuckerberg recently admitted that the government was pressuring him to take down conservative content. So I'm currently in a lawsuit that's been to the Supreme Court. They're still collecting data, and this will be very helpful that Mark Zuckerberg now has admitted that the government was pressuring him to take down content, including our content.
Continuing, you were censored from Facebook. You shut down traffic. I think it got to the point later, it's just shut down 100%, right? You basically, if you search for the Gateway Pundit, it almost doesn't even come up.
Well, that's certainly the case with Facebook. We just don't get the same amount of traffic we're used to. Same with Twitter. We used to be one of the, in 2016 when Trump won, we were the top 4 conservative outlets on Twitter, and they've got rid of that. They
now has Musk changed that a little bit, Elon?
You know, I think he has, and he did bring us back. We were actually banned from Facebook after we put out some videos. In fact, the video we just spoke about at the TCF Center with the band coming in, I was blocked from Twitter after that. So our account is back, but we're still being stifled significantly. Our stories still don't go viral like they used to. So I hope at some point to get somehow get Elon Musk's ear and have him correct that.
Well, you should interview him. Maybe you can get him as an interviewer.
That'd be great.
That would be one way to do it. He was just on Tucker, as you know, Tucker Carlson. Here's, we talked about this. You disappeared, just like what Stalin did. If someone got him mad and he suspected them, he would have them killed, and he would go through all the archives of any photos and have that person etched out. It's scary, but that's what's happening. You're disappearing.
Yeah. Google certainly has done that with us. If you search for Gateway Pundit, you'll find about 6 pages or 3 or 4 pages of negative articles about us, and then maybe you'll find a link to Gateway Pundit after that. So that's what they do.
Now, Jim, if I go on Facebook and I share one of your articles, will that be also banned? Shadow banned?
You generally, if you share something of ours, it will be shadow banned and censored, even though you don't even know it. If you put our URL in. So that will happen. We've also had people who've lost their social media accounts for putting up some of our stories. So that happens also. You don't even have to be the author of it. If you put up a story of Gateway Pundit, they will take your Twitter page or Facebook page down just for doing that.
I think you should write an article saying, get your Facebook account banned and share this article. Yeah, and then here's another organization. We talked about one already. It's another disinformation, basically, which is anytime anybody uses the word disinformation or misinformation, what it is basically is the truth.
Truly. And people are figuring out. Yep, absolutely. This was Hamilton 68. This was created by some Intel officers, actually some top Intel officials, including the former DHS Secretary Chertoff, some CIA directors were involved in this. It was they called it Hamilton 68, and it was supposed to root out the Russian conspiracy in our media today, and they found that Gateway Pundit was one of the top offenders of this. And so this is just complete nonsense. They never had any facts, but they didn't like what we were writing. They didn't like that we were supporting Donald Trump. And so they smeared us on this website that was actually created by a bunch of intel officials after they retired.
And then we go back to the election.
Right. We have a lot of information coming out on that, Gary, and we'll be continuing to report on this. What it is it's this scheme where it used to be, military voters around the world who are stationed on bases around the world. This is how they voted. They still, and they still do. They send in their votes this way, and they sign up and they can vote in U.S. elections that way. It also includes, though, people who are working overseas or who are stationed over, with maybe not with the government, but with their jobs. They can vote.
All 20 million of them, right, Jim?
Well, you know what is interesting is they actually came out this year, the Democrats, and said, "Oh my goodness, there's 9 million voters overseas, like these UOCAVA voters." The actual truth is, there's 4 million, and only 2.8 million are eligible to vote. So and they said they're going to focus on this. They announced this to Democrats. Whenever they announce something like that, you better pay attention. They put in hundreds of millions of dollars to get out the UOCAVA vote. What that means is, we looked into this and found that to be a UOCAVA voter, all you have to do is go online. You don't need a social security card. You don't need a social security number. You don't need an ID. You don't even need an address.
Oh my goodness!
There's people who are in Michigan. They've never lived in Michigan. They're saying their parents live there, and they're signing up from overseas to vote in the Michigan election right now.
Oh my gosh!
This is happening. We're actually going to break this later today. We have more information on this, and so it's so easy for UOCAVA voters, right? They don't have to provide any type of proof that they're even American or anything. They could be from Belize or Congo or Cambodia. It doesn't matter. They could be from China mainland, filling these out, getting a ballot. All they need is an email address, and then they'll shoot them a ballot and they can send it back. So this is, of course, why the Democrats are focusing on this, because once again, it's an easy way to cheat. And so we're following this, and we're trying to get Republicans to pay more attention to it. There are 3 lawsuits out there right now in North Carolina, Michigan, and Pennsylvania. But this needs to be in every state. They need to be challenging these because they're completely fraudulent. There's nothing there that ensures that they're actually Americans or U.S. voters who are filling these things out.
Hey, Jim, do you think Putin's going to vote? You think we'll see his vote come in?
He certainly could with the system. I mean, it's rife for fraud, and of course, when it's built that way, and that's why Democrats are going to try to get as many of these votes as they can, because they know that anybody can fill that out and send one in.
In spite of all the stuff, the Gateway Pundit has still been successful. You're still growing, not as fast as you were, but you're still getting 3 million page visits every day, and you're on track to get 1 billion before the end of the year, which is so. If you want real news, really go to the Gateway Pundit. I go to it every day because I don't want to hear prefabricated false information put in from organizations that have a predisposition to not tell the truth. And here's a perfect example: 800,000 ballots for non-qualified candidates. Did they get counted? I guess they did. They didn't get kicked out, correct?
Not that we have heard. Yeah, this is that group in Michigan that was filling out bogus registrations. They sent 8 to 12,000 to just one county, to a clerk's office there. The state came in, took over the investigation, and then the FBI took over this investigation, and it's gone down a mystery hole. We'll never hear anything about it again. 8,000 to 12,000 bogus registrations. There were no arrests, no indictments, nothing.
Nothing to see here. Nothing to see here.
And hid it all from the American public. In fact, no news source had written about this except one little teeny local place in Michigan that didn't do any justice to it until we wrote about this last year in 2023. We got the police reports, and it is an amazing story of fraud, and the media still wants to downplay it. The officials in Michigan, of course, want to downplay it. They're some of the most corrupt anywhere in the country, and no one has ever been punished for that. Remarkable.
Unbelievable. This poor guy, Jeremy Brown, he was approached to be undercover January 6th. They said, would you work for us to turn in people who are patriots? He refused. He ended up in jail. He's still in jail, correct?
Yeah, he is. It's a tragedy. This is what happened. Jeremy Brown was a Green Beret, and he was actually the Green Beret that was on all their posters. He was a good-looking guy, and they put him on all of their posters. He was in the service for 20 years, and now he's sitting in prison because they just arrested him because he started speaking out and had video actually of government agents coming to his house and begging him to be an operative on January 6th.
That's a shame. I think that's so a shame. And we also know Rosanne Boyland was beaten to death, murdered, let's use the real word, on the steps of the Capitol. And they came out and said, oh, she died from a drug overdose.
The media has never touched this story. Not one single mainstream news organization has touched this story. None of them have told the truth about this poor woman. We've provided the video. She was pushed down, smothered, sprayed with gas. She couldn't breathe. The man next to her, Philip Anderson, who's a friend of mine, he was knocked out too. They were able to drag him to safety. But then she starts getting beat by this officer, Lila Morris, as she was laying there unconscious. And she died on the U.S. Capitol steps. There's never been any investigation into this that we're aware of, any significant investigation. This woman was killed on the steps of the U.S. Capitol. There should be a plaque at least to honor this woman, but there's not. And the media has never said a peep about this poor woman.
It's a terrible story. And also, you were the first to show that they were sending out, I guess, hand grenades or incendiary devices, fire devices into a peaceful crowd. You were the first to report that. You had video of this. Here's just a screenshot. And as far as we can tell, this was done to incite people to do something that then they can be arrested for.
It was all a setup. And they fired on these peaceful people, and we have the video to prove it. These people were just standing around. All of a sudden, they started firing these exploding sound grenades or whatever they were. You can see they look pretty dangerous the way they're blowing up there in the crowd when they landed.
Was someone was injured? I don't know if anybody died from this, but it was.
There was 2 men who died from, they said, heart attacks. I'm wondering myself if this had something to do with it when they started firing all of the projectiles into the crowd, including rubber bullets, by the way, that hit several people in the head.
Yeah, that could kill you.
Yeah, wow. Never should have happened. It's never been reported by the media.
They reported that peaceful protesters, quote unquote, took a fire extinguisher and smashed this police officer in the head and killed him, which was totally false because, as it turns out, he had some type of medical emergency and he passed away the next day.
Correct. Yep. Yeah. And that was all. That was just another lie by the media.
Ballot trafficking. Hopefully, Jim, we could stop this this time. I think they're getting as organized as they can. They're trying to do everything they can to steal. But hopefully we will keep America as America. and Trump will win. I'm also praying that we get the House and the Senate so Trump can do the things that he wants to make us more of a free country, a country where we can actually have freedom of speech. And finally, Stanford University, the third censorship group we talked about, getting ready to, you were the most targeted outlet by them to say that you were producing misinformation.
Right. And this is just another one of these government formed entities that was only created to censor independent media and conservative media. And they had us ranked at the top. We're always ranked at the top in all these lists. They really want to come after us. But so far, we still continue to be successful, and our traffic continues to grow. So very proud of that, because there's no one that's getting the type of abuse and censorship that Gateway Pundit
Well, you're a very valuable source. I just want to show your website here. Here is the Gateway Pundit for everybody to see.
Thank you.
So here's some of the reports you're doing. I just want to say thank you for being here. My issue to American people is use your brain, search out different reports. What's going on today is on the mainstream media, the legacy media, all of the main media sites. You can't get the information you get here. Look at it and evaluate it and share it if you can. Is there any issues you'd like to say, Jim?
Oh, no, Gary, I appreciate it. It was nice to meet you in Wisconsin, and thank you for the work you do and for working at joehoft.com. That's great. So I appreciate it.